Hello everyone and welcome to our techinar, how using video helped me to close 23 transactions in my first 18 months. I'm Susan Harrison, Exit Realty Senior Vice President of Corporate Communications, and I'll be moderating this session. If you haven't done so already, please dial into the audio portion of the call using the phone number that was emailed to you, or listen in using your computer speakers. If you have questions throughout the presentation, please type them into the question box on your GoToWebinar pane, and we'll do our best to address them. Today's session is being recorded. When our guest speaker today was developing his real estate business from scratch, he decided to utilize video to target orphan clients, those homeowners who had lost contact with their previous agent. In doing so, he closed 23 transactions in his first 18 months in the business. Exit Realty's Vice President of Technology Engagement, Annette Anthony, is going to ask him just how he did it. Annette?
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Boy, you are in for a treat. Locke from Exit New Options Real Estate in Massachusetts will be sharing how he's grown his business using video. Now, if you haven't already, make sure that you grab something to take notes, because you'll want to write down the 5 myths agents say to themselves to avoid using video. Now, Locke will talk about each myth, share examples on how to leverage video, especially to grow business without spending a lot of money or time. Locke is also going to share tips, equipment needed, and ways you can incorporate Exit e-listings into the conversation. So please, everyone, welcome Locke Hammond.
Thank you, Annette, and thank you, Susan, and thank you to everybody for attending the techinar today. I put my contact info up here so anyone can reach out with questions. And actually, a couple people have reached out before the webinar even started, so that's fantastic. The best way to reach me is probably my email, which is up there. You can also find me on Twitter at Locke. And since we're not going to be able to show live videos during this techinar, one thing that I want everybody to do right now is to find me on YouTube and subscribe to my channel so you can see all of my videos. So as you're watching this, if you guys can open up another window on your computer, go to YouTube and search my name, which is up there, Locke. You'll find me, subscribe to my channel, and then you can find it easily and go back and watch them after the techinar. So let's get into why you guys are here. You want to learn how I closed 23 transactions in my first 18 months by utilizing video. And I'll tell you a little bit of a backstory. As a new agent, I came into the business and I really had no sphere of influence. I grew up in the area that I now work in, but I went away to college. I went down to Baltimore to go to college, and then after that I spent 3 years working in Connecticut. So when I came home, my high school friends had moved away, my college friends were in Baltimore and all over the country, and my work friends were in Connecticut, so I really knew a very small amount of people, a couple family members, a couple friends, and that was about it. So my sphere was non-existent. So when I sat down with my broker, and we went through some of the usual things on how to start quickly in real estate, we talked about your sphere of influence, we talked about calling expireds, and at the time that really scared me and I didn't want to do that. And so I stumbled upon a unique way to grow my business as a new agent. And it all started with a couple of realizations. One of them is up here on the screen. Some of you may recognize some of these statistics. 80% of home buyers surveyed have agreed that they would use their agent again. They're happy with the services and would definitely go back to them the next time they bought or sold. And yet at the same time, 70% cannot recall their name after 1 year. So obviously there's going to be a little bit of trouble finding your old agent if you can't even remember their name. And there's a tremendous number of orphan clients that a new or even experienced agent can steal. So another important insight that I had, that I realized, was that I had to offer value to people before they would either register on my website or reach out in an email. And the way that I chose to offer value was through video. I realized that if I didn't give them some content that provided value to them, why should I expect them to in turn provide their contact information or reach out to me? And some of these statistics on this slide will show you why I chose video. So at this time, it's estimated that 50% of all internet activity is video. YouTube is the second ranked search engine after Google. Google's number 1. And oh, by the way, Google owns YouTube. So really, they're just a big conglomerate at the top of the search engine rankings. And a YouTube executive claims that soon, or very soon, 90% of all internet traffic will be video. And obviously, this is a YouTube executive saying that, so we can take that with a grain of salt. But that shows the trend of where the internet is going and the large dependency on video. And so that's why I chose video and why I believe that video is the future of real estate marketing. So I want to talk about some of the myths that held me back in the beginning from doing video, and that I know through talking to other people in the business hold other agents back. And I put what I think are the top 5 up on the screen. It doesn't work. Video doesn't work. It's too hard. It's too expensive. I don't know how, and it's too time-consuming. And if we're honest, these are just excuses, and I'd like to call them excuses. I'm going to touch on all of these, and I'm going to show you why the majority of them are not true. And if one has a little fragment of truth, I'm going to show you some shortcuts or some hacks to get around them. So let's start with it doesn't work. Consumers are more educated than ever. I would say miseducated. I think with all the sources of information out there, they have everything at their fingertips. They think they know more than they really do. With the Zillows and the Trulias and everything being online in this instantaneous society, anyone can pull up anything right on their smartphone. So I realized this, and I realized that this is not a fad that's going away. It's just going to get worse. So why are we going to try and fight it? I say don't fight it. I say become the source of their information as much as you can. And I think video is a great way to do it. Video gives you an immediate expert status. It's almost like writing a book. If you write a book, it automatically positions you as an agent, whether you know what you're talking about or not. When someone sees your name on the book, they probably, a lot of times won't even read the book, but they'll take for granted that you know what you're talking about. And video does the same thing. So let me give you an example of how exactly video has created expert status for me. And this was kind of an example that took me back when it happened. One of my first videos that I made was a simple slideshow, a lot like this one that you guys are watching today. And I did what's called a screen capture, which is where I record the computer screen as I'm clicking through the slides. It also records my voice, and it turns it into a video. I didn't have to be in the video. It was really simple. It was just my screen clicking through some slides and me talking over it. Nothing fancy at all. And I called this How to Buy a Foreclosure. And it was all about, the ups and downs of buying a foreclosure, what to look out for, what to expect, and obviously the tremendous potential that there is in buying foreclosures. I made it after only a couple of months in the business. And after I put it out on YouTube, I started using it in some advertisements. A couple weeks after I posted the video, I got a phone call. And it was from a gentleman who was looking for foreclosures in our area. And he said, I saw your video, and obviously you are the local foreclosure expert. And this really took me back because I'd only been in the business for a couple of months. Obviously, I had done my research when I made the video. Everything I said was true. I had sold a couple of foreclosures, I think 2 or 3 at that point, and I had a little bit of experience, but I had only been licensed for maybe 3 or 4 months at the most, and this really took me back. But it shows you how you can become immediately perceived as an expert, even if it may not be true. Now, you need to do the work behind the scenes. I did the research on the video. I worked hard to learn everything I could about foreclosures. But it's a great example of how you can become perceived as an expert very, very quickly just by putting some quality video content up there. One more example I want to show you guys is I put 3 testimonials up on the screen. And as you take a second to read through them, I want you to figure out which one of them I made up. And now this is probably a pretty easy exercise. Obviously, I made up the 3rd one. I like to think that I'm smart and good-looking, but I doubt that I'm the smartest and best-looking realtor on the planet. And obviously, this is kind of meant to give a very obvious example and slightly funny example of how easy it is to change or create testimonials online. And you can call me a skeptic, but every time I see a written testimonial, I take it with a grain of salt. They're so easy to fake. I'm sure you guys have come across testimonials that are pretty obviously written by the person that it's supposed to be reviewing. And that's the way I look at written testimonials. But if you made a video testimonial, and this is a screenshot because we can't show live videos, put a screenshot of one of my first testimonials up there, you can't fake a live video testimonial. And we'll touch on this a little bit later, but the best testimonials, best video testimonials are actually kind of raw and uncut, and they look as though it was just filmed and there was no editing. And there's no way that you can fake it. And the consumer looking at this isn't going to say, oh, that agent made that up, because it's obviously some consumers talking about their experiences. The next excuse that I want to hit on is it's too hard. I'm giving you four suggestions here. The first is to know your own limitations. And I struggled with this in the beginning because maybe it's my personality or maybe it's my generation, but I wanted to accomplish a lot really, really quickly, and I wanted to become an expert really, really quickly, and I wanted to try and do a lot more than I was ready to do in terms of video when I started. And so I kind of drove myself crazy not knowing my own limitations. I would tell you guys, I'd recommend to start with something simple. My first video that actually got completed and was a very successful video was just that simple slideshow with a screen capture. The second point, and this is a no-brainer, is to utilize exit e-listing. If you guys aren't using this, you need to get on it. You need to figure it out and utilize it. It's simple, it's easy to use, and if you're not using it, you're basically starting off behind your competition. And we'll talk about e-listings later as well. The third one is point-and-shoot testimonials. We already talked about testimonials are one of the best and easiest videos you can do. All you need to do is stand in front of your consumers with a camera and kind of let them gush about you. And they're also one of the most effective uses of video that you can do. And the last point, stay behind the camera. If you're uncomfortable in front of the camera, that's perfectly normal. I am still rarely in front of the camera in my videos just because it still makes me uncomfortable. It'll be something that I need to get over at some point, but if you don't feel comfortable on screen, don't worry about it. Make some videos where you're not in the video and maybe your voice is in it, but not your face. And this is an example of one of my first videos. Another great way to create video content without being on camera is to interview someone who is an expert. And this was a video I made. I interviewed one of my close friends and mentors, and it was made 3 years ago, and we are still getting calls from this video. And you can, by utilizing other people's expertise in their field, you can still become the source of that information. You can still become perceived as an expert in your field because you're the curator, you're the one bringing all this information and these other experts to your consumers. The third excuse is it's too expensive. And obviously this one has a little bit of legitimacy to it. If you want to buy this, fancy cameras and fancy editing software, it's obviously going to cost you some money, but it's not necessary to do so. And all you really need is a cell phone with a camera and a computer to edit it. And if you really want to go low tech on some of your testimonials, you don't even need a computer to edit it because they have apps on your phone or your tablet that will let you cut and edit a video right before you upload it to YouTube very, very easily. Sometimes you don't even need the phone. So with the slideshow screen capture that I made for my first video, I didn't use the phone. Obviously, it was all done on the computer. And again, we're going to keep hitting on this about the testimonials. But the best testimonials are low-key and believable. If you do a lot of fancy editing and really these fancy transitions between scenes, you're going to make it feel less genuine, and it's actually going to become less effective. So with testimonials, even if you have all this fancy equipment, you're probably better off not even using it when you're doing testimonials and making it look real and genuine. So this is a screenshot from some of the more advanced software that I use, where it's actually a hand-drawing video, much like the great 4-minute milling video that Exit Realty Corp has. Not all videos have to be like this. They don't have to be high-tech. They don't have to use equipment like this. As much as I love doing these hand-drawn videos or other types of animation because I think it's cool, my most watched videos are still the really basic ones that I did in the beginning. So the next myth and excuse is I don't know how. And this isn't just an excuse for people not doing video. It's any aspect of this business. But I'm a big proponent of using YouTube for your own learning. So if you don't know how to do anything, whether it's real estate related or not, you can go on YouTube, you can search whatever you're trying to figure out, and there will be videos on YouTube that will teach you how to do anything, and I mean anything. The same is true for creating video. If you go on YouTube and you search for a video on how to edit using a certain program or how to shoot a certain style of video, you'll find a video tutorial teaching you exactly how to do that. In addition to that, I recommend you ask people in your office or your area I've always believed that I can only get better by surrounding myself with people who are better, smarter, more experienced than me. And so I'm sure there are people in your marketplace or in your company, hopefully, that are doing video that you can ask their advice. And on top of that, don't ever hesitate to call or email me. I'd love to hear your questions. I'd love to brainstorm a bunch of different ideas. I love seeing what other people are doing and taking some ideas from them and sharing some ideas of my own and helping each other grow. There are also some great past techinars and some breakout sessions from this past exit convention, 2014 exit convention, that are going to be up on the ERC. Either they're already up or they will be up very soon on how to use video. And that's a great resource. That's other agents that are doing stuff similar to what I'm doing that are teaching you how to do video, and that's the best way to learn it. The last myth that I want to touch on is it's too time consuming. And this is the other one that has a small fragment of truth to it. But I would argue that it's worth the time. Exit e-listing is a great example. So I put up here 15 minutes to do exit e-listing. If you're familiar with the program, I think it probably would only take you about 5 or 10 minutes to input all the information and then let the program create all that great content for you. And it's as simple and easy as it can be, and it doesn't take up any time. Testimonials can be shot in about 5 minutes. I shoot my testimonials in about 5 minutes. I tell the people that my clients, I say, if you make any mistakes, I can edit them out. So we're not going to start and stop. Just let whatever you want to say, let it come out. I'm going to edit out whatever you don't like. At the end, you can tell me what you don't like, and I can edit it out. And so we're not doing a million takes. We're literally just standing there. If they need a couple questions to kind of prompt them as to what I want them to reference, I have a couple questions ready for them. But in reality, we're really done in about 5 minutes of shooting. And then I take it back to the computer, and it doesn't take me more than 5 or 10 minutes to cut and edit it. Again, you don't want to do anything fancy. So all in all, with the waiting time in between taking out, you can get a great video testimonial done in about 20 to 30 minutes very, very easily. And the last point, video replicates you. 1 hour of your time is going to be many hours in front of clients. By spending an hour on a video, it's almost like you're cloning yourself so that you're able to be in front of many clients without actually meeting them. You do the work once, and you continue to reap the benefits over and over and over each time your video gets played. From my experience, these are a couple of the most effective uses of video. The first is property videos. So we touched on e-listings a little bit. You got to do property videos. Everybody else is doing them. E-listings is a superior product to what else is out there. But if you're not using it, there's no point in having it. So definitely you want to utilize property videos. The next, said it over and over again on this one as well, is testimonial. You can't fake a video testimonial, and social proof is the best. That's one of the best types of videos you can do in terms of getting people to reach out to you and proving your legitimacy, proving that you're a real, genuine person. And then the third point is what I call, and a lot of people call, evergreen video, and that's a video that the content stays relevant over time. So we'll touch on evergreen video a little bit here. Evergreen video is stuff that stays relevant over time. So when you sell a house, the property video of that house is probably not relevant once the house is sold. It may stay out there on the internet. You may take it down. You may leave it up. Even if you take it down, it's probably out there in some sources you don't know about, and it's no longer relevant because the house isn't for sale. But evergreen video is a great idea on how to have something out there constantly and for a long period of time, gaining views and providing legitimacy to you. And a couple of the best uses are listed on here. I like community videos, so making videos of local parks, restaurants, or schools. The best use of a community video that I've come up with or that I've heard of is partnering with a local restaurant. So if you go into a local restaurant, you shoot a quick video of what it's like, maybe with a couple people in there eating, you interview the owner, you do a couple different scenes like that, and in the video you offer a free gift certificate to anyone who calls or emails you. Presumably the restaurant owner has no problem giving you a small gift certificate, maybe $5 or $10 for each customer that you can get in through his door. And any leads, if you set it up right, any leads will go through you. They'll contact you to get the gift certificate. Obviously, they watched your video. They go into your database, and you're seen as the local expert. You're seen as the person that connected them with essentially free food. The business owner, the restaurant owner gets people through the door. You get leads in your database and the perception of being a local expert, and the consumers get a gift certificate to try a new restaurant. So everybody wins. And obviously, you want to check your local laws and regulations to make sure this is permitted in your area, but it's a great use of community videos. Another evergreen video is how-to videos. We talked about the how to buy a foreclosure video that I made. You could do mortgage myth video. You could do how to get a mortgage with no money down. How-to videos stay relevant. People search those terms, and that will be a great type of video to have in your arsenal. And again, we keep hitting back on testimonials. I can't say it enough. Get video testimonials from any of your clients that are willing to do it. If they're not willing to do it, get a written one. Written testimonials still work, but obviously I believe video testimonials are better. And here's a screenshot from a video that I made of a local park that we have near our office. When people want to buy, they end up researching the area, what to do in the area, the schools, the parks, recreation, sites to go see. They research these things before they ever get on a website to look at houses a lot of times. So if you become the source of this information, if you become the source of these beautiful videos of the parks and videos with information about the school system that people are looking for before they decide on what neighborhood they want, you can get a lot of these buyer leads before they will ever register on a search website, a property search website. So there's a big, huge push, with Zillow and Trulia leads, with a lot of lead generation that offices and individual agents are doing on creating buyer leads. But before anyone's ever ready to register on a property search website, they're very likely to be looking at the surrounding area to try and figure out where exactly they want to live. And this is a great way to both position yourself as an expert, but also if you do it correctly, you can probably get some leads out of this. So some quick tips, and I learned these the hard way. And so you can kind of save on some time and not make the same mistakes that I've made. You got to keep your videos short and sweet. In today's society, this instantaneous society where everyone is so ADD, they'll be gone if your videos go over 2 minutes. I've heard that the ideal length is even under 60 seconds, but in what we're trying to accomplish, if we're doing a how-to video, it's going to be pretty hard to get that content out in 60 seconds, so I say under 2 minutes. If you're doing a video of the parks or something like that, you can keep it under 60 seconds, that's perfect, but definitely under 2 minutes. The second one, you got to hook them early. If you don't hook them in the first 10 seconds, statistics have shown that they will leave after 10 seconds. They will stop watching your video. They won't even make it to that 2-minute mark. So you need to have something in the first 10 seconds, whether it's a headline, whether it's your title, whether it's something funny or an offer or something like that. You need to hook them in the first 10 seconds so they're going to be gone. And don't be perfect. This one I learned the hard way. In the beginning, I used to do take after take after take of videos, and I had to get everything perfect, and it drove me crazy. You're going to drive yourself crazy trying to fix all the small mistakes, and what you really need to focus on is just getting quality content out there. So a lot of my videos, if you guys go to YouTube and you look at my videos, a lot of them are going to have small mistakes. Either I misspeak, or I say the wrong word, or I stutter here and there, or something like that. And just don't worry about being perfect, because in my opinion, it's not worth the time, but at the same time, it's also going to make you look more genuine. You want to be seen as a real person in your videos, and if you're perfect, you're probably a little bit less approachable than if you make a mistake here and there. And also, you got to show your personality. I'm a little bit of a wise guy. I'm a little bit sarcastic, and a lot of that shows in my videos, and I think that helps my videos. It helps attract people, and again, back to looking genuine. Let's touch real quickly on what you will need to be doing some videos. It's really a minimal list. Like I said, start small, start within your comfort zone, know your limitations. So in the beginning, you're going to want a cell phone. Most cell phones will have a camera that is perfectly capable of everything you need in terms of making these videos. And then you're going to want a computer with some editing software. I think that most of the free editing programs out there are good enough for you guys to use to start out on. I still use iMovie, which is free on Mac. and I've heard that Cyber Director is a good program on PCs. I'm not sure if there's a free version or not. But basically, any type of free editing program, practice and test it out on the free stuff before you actually spend some money, because I still use the free version of iMovie, and I haven't shelled out any money for an editing program. And then you'll need a hosting platform. So YouTube is the one that comes to mind first. Vimeo is great, and also Welcome Mat is an approved supplier of Exit. And we'll talk about YouTube a little bit more in depth in a minute. I just want to hit on another piece that you need to have, which is Exit eListing. And I've said it before, you're starting off behind your competition if you don't use Exit eListing. We say this all the time in our office, it needs to be used. It's almost become an expectation of sellers to have some sort of virtual tour. If you factor in all the other things that eListing can do, it blows the doors off of the competition in terms of their virtual tour capability, but you need to use it, and it needs to be utilized. It's done, 15 minutes. I keep saying 15 minutes, but really it should be quicker than that for each listing you have. 15 minutes, you're done. It automatically uploads it to YouTube and many other sources, and everyone needs to be using it. It's so easy and quick to use. Let's talk about YouTube. YouTube is where I'd recommend you starting, just because of a couple of reasons on the screen. Obviously, it's free. That's huge. But even bigger than that is there's over 1 billion, and that's billion with a B, over 1 billion unique visitors to YouTube each month. And that just blows my mind when I see that statistic. But it's also owned by Google, which means that if you utilize the descriptions and the tags, you can quickly get on the first page of search results depending on what search results you want to end up showing up in. And you can figure out how to utilize those tags. Again, it goes back to using YouTube for your own learning. So go to YouTube and look for someone to teach you how to use those descriptions and tags, and you can end up on the first page in Google. And that's because since Google owns YouTube, they want, on their first page of search results, they want to show a video because it just drives traffic to another website that they own. So it's actually just building their own business. So if you're the only video or one of the top videos that fits into the search criteria that you want to be fitting into, you can very quickly and easily end up on the first page of Google. Now I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit here, and I want to just point out that video is a tool. It is not a miracle cure. You can't just post a video on YouTube and then wonder why your business hasn't exploded. Having the greatest video in the world means nothing if no one watches it. It's just like your website. You could have the greatest website in the world, but if you're not driving any traffic there, it doesn't mean anything. So creating quality content is step number one, but it will be a waste of time to do all of that work to make these videos unless you get it in front of people. Some of the best ways that I've found to do that are here on the screen. The first is embedded on your website. Every month I do a monthly real estate market update for my local market. I post that on I embed that on my website so that everybody that comes to my website can see that video first thing they see. On a side note, it's not up here on this list, but if you do something like that, you can send it out to your local realtor board business partners, and you can be perceived as the expert to your business partners. It gets more eyeballs on your videos, and it also gives you that perception. In line with that, I email all my videos to my sphere and to my leads. So I do a lot of online lead generation. As soon as I develop a new video, I'm going to send it out to everyone I have in my database. Social media is huge. Post it on social media. Ask people in your office to repost it, share it, like it, and also use it in your lead generation. So if you are doing lead generation, you can build landing pages around videos, or you can build follow-up email campaigns where each email references a specific video, trying to give provide content and value to your clients. And so that's all I've got for you guys. Thank you very much for being here, and I guess we'll open it up to some questions now.
Great information. You know, if each of the attendees applied at least one nugget of information that Locke shared and used it in their business, that is a tremendous breakthrough, especially for those who've been reluctant about using video. And Locke, you make it really approachable. So really thank you for that. I challenge each of you to take a video of your most recent client and record a testimonial. You know, love your idea, Locke, about the community videos. That's a great way to pull local businesses together and add value to your community. Just amazing. So I've got a couple questions from the audience, Locke, I'd love to ask you. Metrics, what type of metrics, when people, the question is metrics. So I would assume they're asking when they're going to, when people are viewing your videos, what are you tracking to see if it's impactful or, people are engaging with your videos?
Absolutely, that's a great question. There's a lot of things you can do on YouTube, and it goes a lot more in depth than just likes and view count. Because Google owns YouTube, they've incorporated a lot of analytics, and they had a lot before Google bought them too. You can track how long people will stay on your video. So, for example, in some of the screenshots that you saw in my videos, and when you go on YouTube and look at my videos, you'll see a lot of varying lengths, and some of them are, I think, a couple of them might be over 5 minutes. I found out the hard way that people were not watching all the way through to completion, and obviously there are statistics that state that as well, but you can track how long people watch your video. So if they watch for 60 seconds and then they stop watching, you can track that in YouTube. And the other one that's good too is when a YouTube video ends, a bunch of suggestions pop up, and you can actually track how many people, when they're done watching one video, click through to another one of your videos. And those two things are great to know in terms of knowing what you're doing right, but it also, that's what YouTube uses in terms of ranking you in their search results. So the more people last until the end of your video, the higher you end up in the search rankings. And so that's why it's always, like I said, keep your videos short and sweet, 2 minutes long at max, and that way you'll get people watching all the way through to the end, and that'll actually help you boost up the rankings on YouTube.
Nice. Here's another question. What about drones? Are you using them?
I would love to use drones to have another toy to play with. I haven't messed around with them yet. I've been trying to follow, and I guess I haven't been following too closely what's going on with the FAA in terms of airspace and when they're allowed to use drones. And at the same time, in our marketplace, where our median price is right around 200, and depending on which town you're looking at, it might be lower than that. It almost doesn't make sense to use them out here, but it's definitely something that I'm keeping my eye on, and I'd love to explore that more.
Here's another one from Peter. He says, do you give your clients a script for the testimonials?
That's a great question, and I tried to touch on that a little bit. Actually, no, I don't, and I tell them that. I said, so you need to practice how you walk your clients through it, and so when you ask them, you want to do it, first of all, this may seem obvious, but you want to do it right after closing because it's like the happiest time of the transaction. But you probably want to be prepared with a couple of questions. So I usually have a couple questions ready to ask them, and I say, listen, some people like to do it different ways. Some people just like to talk, and that's the best kind of testimonial. Other people, like myself, would want a couple of questions kind of coaching me on what specific direction I want them to go. So I'll have some questions ready, and those questions are kind of like, obviously how you feel the transaction went. Would you recommend me to friends and family? Those types of questions. But I would never tell them what to say. I would never coach them. One of the best testimonials I have was a house that I sold. I got it as an expired listing. I sold it within 5 days with multiple offers over list price. And I was so tempted to kind of coach her on what to say, and I didn't, and I'm really glad that I didn't because she said it perfectly, and she summed it up in her own words, and she said all of that, but it was so much more believable than if I would have, told her what to say and then cut it and edited it. So really just have a couple questions ready if they're not comfortable, and then just let them go. And if they ramble on, you can cut pieces out, and if they don't like things that they said, you can cut pieces out, but just be ready to coach them on how to do it, and it's not a big deal. You can easily cut anything they don't like. If they get self-conscious, you can easily cut that out, and just let them go and have it be real, because that's when, even if you know what you want them to say, if they say it in their own words, it's going to come out better than if you coached them.
Nice. Very good. Very good advice. Chelsea wants to know, where do you get your stats from?
My stats? In terms of the market update video, is that what she's asking about?
Maybe Chelsea, you can type in regards to market update.
Yeah, so my market update videos, I pull the stats straight from MLS, and I focus on the towns that we serve. So we serve 2 cities, and so I focus on those 2 cities and any of the 8 towns that are touching them around the edge. If she's referring to the statistics that I use in the presentation, so in terms of the video and 50% of the internet usage is video and stuff like that, they come from a lot of different places, a lot of mainstream media sources like Inman and Risk Media, referring to some of the real estate statistics. And then, you know, I obviously, because I do a lot of video, you got to stay plugged into different sources of information in terms of video. And so there are a number of newsletters that I subscribe to on how to create video and equipment and stuff like that. And a lot of statistics come through there, video marketers. And if you poke around on YouTube and Google, you'll be able to find the same statistics that I found.
Great. And then lastly, stabilization. What type of technology do you use to stabilize your video so it's not so shaky?
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer in starting out as cheap as you possibly can, and not in a bad way, but you know, in terms of the equipment that you need, the phone, the computer, the editing software, if you're worried about stabilization in terms of doing maybe a testimonial or you know, one of the videos in the park or something like that, I would go on eBay or Amazon or any of the online stores and try and find a cheap either tripod or monopod with one leg. When I did that park video, I just had a monopod, so I did this big sweeping panning view from one side of the water to the other. I just had it on a monopod just so that I wasn't shaking around because it was such a long view. With my testimonials, though, I don't even use it. Again, it goes back to, you don't want it to be kind of like the Blair Witch Project, but you do want it to be genuine and real. So if you're having issues where you're shaking around, I just invest in a cheap tripod for your phone or whatever device you're using to create the video, and that's about it. They have software on your phone that can kind of edit some of it out, but I wouldn't even complicate things in the beginning. And once you get more advanced, if you're worried about that, you can certainly investigate that.
Great. Final question. Do you get releases from those giving testimonials?
Absolutely. And this is, again, I learned a lot of things the hard way in that. This was, I learned, it could have been worse, but I did a first-time homebuyer seminar and with one of our business partners, a lender whose office is right near ours. And he spoke, and we recorded the first-time homebuyer seminar, and silly me, after he spoke, I asked him to sign the release after we had recorded him speaking, and after he got down off the stage, I said, oh, hey, David, by the way, I got to get you to sign this release. And he kind of looked at me and said, you know, that you could really, you know, he was joking about it, but you could really get in some trouble doing it that way. So you absolutely want to sign a release. If you need any help figuring out what that release should say, you can obviously go to your broker or reach out to someone at corporate and make sure you have the right verbiage and language. But you absolutely want to release because you don't want that coming back later and biting you in the butt. The other thing I do is I tell my clients when I do testimonials, and even our agents, because we've done testimonials for our office, which is a great idea too. What I tell them is I'm going to record this, I'm going to upload it to YouTube, but YouTube lets me mark it as private so that no one can see it. As soon as I put it on there as private, I'm going to send you a link, and I'm going to let you watch it. And if you don't like anything about it, I'm going to edit it out, whatever you don't like. I've never had anybody say, no, I don't like it, take this part out. But it's a nice touch to take some of the anxiety out of it. But even doing that, you still want to get a release signed.
Nice. Great advice. So thank you so much for spending your time with us, Locke, and sharing this invaluable information. For all of you that are still on the call, remember this session will be recorded and it will be posted up on our resource center, so come back and view it. Definitely you want to follow Locke and find him on YouTube and connect with him. His contact information was on the slides as well. Again, thank you everyone for spending the time, and we hope to see you on video in the near future. Thanks again, Locke. Have a great day, everyone.